Good morning, I hope that you're all doing well. This is Faker with Questlog. The first anniversary of Master Duel is on the horizon, and as many of us look back on the past year that we spent playing this game, I'm sure that many are trying to get into it for the first time. I'm trying to help out by giving my personal opinion on what the best deck for new players to Master Duel is. This is the Burning Spirit structure deck, Salamangreat. People call it Heat Soul Control, although it's not quite that with the way that the structure deck works, but we will just call it Salamangreats. This is one of the structure decks that is possible to go into with the in the shop as soon as you enter the game. It's 500 gems for one copy, and you definitely want to buy 3 copies. So, why is this deck so powerful? Well, it gives you access to some incredibly powerful cards for very, very cheap. And with some very slight additions to the deck, you can find yourself pushing all the way up to the gold ladder and potentially beyond without very much difficulty. In terms of what per gem value you can be spending as a brand new player into the game, maybe you wanted to get into it because the anniversary is coming around, I think that this is the best option that you can go into. So let's take a look at the deck. Every single card in the main deck is obtainable by buying 3 copies of the structure deck. You need to make no changes. This is just ratios as to what you go into. So we start with 2 copies of Flame Buffalo. If this face-up card leaves the field, you can discard 1 Cyberse monster, and if you do, draw 2 cards. This allows, it is a level 3 Cyberse, which means that you can use it to go into Bay Links to find Sanctuary, and then you can discard any of your number of Cyberse monsters and just get some hand advantage, maybe draw into something a little bit better for you. Foxy, this is the starter of the deck. When this card is normal summon, you can excavate the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, you can add 1 excavated Salamangreat card to your hand, shuffle the rest into the deck. So what this allows you to do is this lets you mill into your deck. Maybe you find an extender like your Gazelle or your Spinny, or you find something like Salamangreat Circle, which lets you get into those to keep going onto your plays. If this card is in your graveyard and a face-up spell trap's on the field, you can discard a Salamangreat card, special this card, and if you do, you can destroy 1 face-up spell trap on the field. Not bad going second, but that is mandatory, so make sure you don't pop your own spell traps. Salamangreat Gazelle, this card was semi-limited up until just recently. Thank God they have freed this card. This is one of the best cards in the deck, and it lets you do basically everything. If a Salamangreat monster is sent to your graveyard except Gazelle, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summon, you can send 1 Salamangreat card from your deck to the grave. You can send Spinny to extend. You can send Roar in order to get some disruption. Whatever you're missing, Gazelle can send. And it lets you extend. Spinny, if you control a Salamangreat card, you can discard this card, then target 1 face-up monster on the field. It gains 500 attack until the end of the turn. This is just a way to get it into the grave, because if you control a Salamangreat monster other than Salamangreat Spinny and this card's in your grave, you can special summon this card but banish it when it leaves the field. There is a lot of extension in this deck, and this lets you get into your Link 2s like Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf very easily. Balancer Lord. This is a crazy card that the structure deck included. So, once per turn, you can pay 1,000 life points during your main phase. You can normal summon 1 Cyberse monster in addition to your normal summon set. If this card is banished, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower monster from your hand. Importantly, this is a light attribute monster instead of a fire attribute monster, which means that to go into Deco Talker Heat Soul, which requires 2 monsters with different attributes, this actually counts. It's also the same reason we're playing Linkaribo. Very good for just getting it's like double summon on legs. It helps you go into Heat Soul better. Additionally, we have a way to banish it. Lady Debug. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add 1 level 3 or lower Cyberse monster from your deck to your hand. This includes Gazelle and Spinny as well. And you can, because it's level 4, you can link it away into Bay Links. Just lets you go everywhere. Jack Jaguar. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage. Who cares? If you control a Salamangreat Link monster while this card's in your graveyard, you can target a Salamangreat monster in your grave, shuffle it into the deck, and if you do, special summon this card. Again, extension. Additionally, it works really well with Sunlight Wolf. Foul. If a Salamangreat monster except Foul is normal or special summon, you can special this card from your hand. It's just free extension. Once per turn, you can send a Salamangreat card from your hand or face-up field to the grave, then target a set spell trap your opponent controls. That set card cannot be activated this turn. That is not very good, except to get things in the grave that potentially you want there. Degrade Buster. Interestingly enough, I really like this card. It's like a worse BLS, is one way to put it. Must first be special summoned by your hand by banishing 2 Cyberse monsters from your grave, so it's just a good special summon condition on a 2500 body. You can target one monster your opponent controls with higher attack than this card, banish it until the end phase, so it's like a worse Malevolent Sin. You can only use this effective Degrade Buster once per turn. It's good late game, it's a good top deck, it's a good card. Beat Bison. If you have 3 or more Salamangreat monsters in your grave, you can special summon this card from your hand in defense position. You can target Fire Link monsters in your grave up to the number of face-up cards your opponent controls, return them to the extra deck. Then you can negate the effects of face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of cards you return. So it's a board wipe, or it's not a board wipe, it's a board negate that lets you recycle the effects or the Link monsters in your grave. That's why we're playing it at 1, because you really don't want it in your opening hand. One-time passcode. One-time passcode special summons a security token, which allows you to go into Balinks and also lets you go into Link Revo. It's a good way of going into Heat Soul. Sign Up Mining. Send a card from your hand to the grave, add a level 4 or lower Cyberse monster from deck to hand. Pitch 1, search anything, basically, is what this says. It's fantastic. Salamangreat Sanctuary, we play this at 1. There is an argument for playing it 2, but we're playing it at 1. This is one of the most important cards in the deck. If you link summon a Salamangreat Link monster, you can use one Salamangreat Link monster you control with its same name as the entire material. This is very big for the Salamangreat monsters specifically. During damage calculation, if your monster battles, you can pay 1,000 life points and target one Link monster you control, make its attack 0, and if you do, gain life points equal to its original attack. This effect almost never comes up. What you really want is you want to be able to link summon a Salamangreat monster using itself as material, because then they gain their extra effects. Will of the Salamangreat. This card's crazy. During your main phase, you can special summon one Salamangreat monster from your hand or grave. It's just a continuous monster reborn. Really, really good, including the Link monsters. Circle. Circle is ridiculous. Add one Salamangreat monster from your deck to your hand as a quick effect. Target a Salamangreat Link monster you control, and it's unaffected by monster effects this turn. So just nuts. Usually you're using it to search like a Gazelle or a Spinny, or if a Foxy if you're missing it. 3 Rage, 3 Roar. Usually you wouldn't play these at this high because they're so easily searchable, but and there are options that if you wanted to spend some extra gems that you could replace these cards with. But just from the structure deck, I don't think that there's anything wrong with playing these at 3. You could potentially cut like a Roar and add an additional Degrade Buster. That's not terrible. But Rage, activate one of these effects. Send a Salamangreat monster from your hand to the grave to pop a card. Not great. Target a Salamangreat Link monster you control that was Link summoned using a monster with the same name as material. Destroy cards your opponent controls up to that monster's Link rating. Oh, baby. This is just Treacherous Trap Hole, but better. Usually with a Sunlight Wolf. If you have a Heat Leo, it just pops 3. It's insane. Salamangreat Roar. When a spell trap card or monster effect is activated while you control a Salamangreat Link monster, you just negate it. You just simply negate and you destroy it. While this card's in the grave, if a Salamangreat Link monster is summoned, you can just reset it. But then you banish it when it leaves the field. So incredibly powerful. And then Gift, you can discard a Salamangreat monster, send one Salamangreat monster from your deck to your grave, then draw a card. This is a continuous trap. So you discard 1, mill 1, draw 1. Not terrible. If you control a Salamangreat Link monster that was Link summoned using a monster with the same name, you can discard 1 Salamangreat monster to draw 2. So again, it just lets you cycle through your deck to get to your starters. Onto the extra deck. So this is where the changes from the actual structure deck were made. Salamangreat Balinks is part of the structure deck. It's a Link 1, which, that's one of the reasons this deck is so powerful. If this card is Link summoned, you can add a Salamangreat Sanctuary from your deck to your hand, so it's a Link 1 that searches a field spell. Pretty good. If a Salamangreat card you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your grave instead. So it's protection, links on Link, it searches the field spell, protects from grave, does everything. Link Karibo. When your opponent activates a trap card quick effect, you contribute this card, negate that card's effect, and if you do banish it, if it's in the graves, you contribute an Ad Ignister monster. That will never happen. The primary reason why you're doing this is because it's another attribute that you can go into Decode Talker Heat Soul. Salamangreat Sunlight Wolf, 2 fire effect monsters. If this monster is normal or special summoned to a zone that this card points to, including your opponent doing so, you can add a fire monster from your graveyard to your hand. Usually you want to add back like a gazelle, but you cannot normal or special summon monsters with the added monster's name. During your main phase, if you control this card that was link summoned using itself as material, you can add a Salamangreat spell trap from your graveyard to your hand. So this lets you add a roar that was pitched, or maybe a circle that was already used. It's very good. We'll go on to Heatleo. If this card is link summoned, this is a link 3, you can target 1 card in your opponent's spell trap zone, shuffle it into the deck. Once per turn during your main phase, if this card was link summoned using Salamangreat Heatleo as material, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field and 1 monster in your graveyard. The attack of the first becomes equal to the other's targets until the end of the turn. So it buffs one of your weak salads with a strong salad in grave. Not very good. We move on to Decode Talker Heat Soul. This card's crazy. 2 Cyberse monsters with different attributes, and it's a link 3. Gains 500 attack for each monster it points to. As a quick effect on either player's turn, you can pay 1,000 life points, draw a card. Then, if your life points are 2,000 or less, you can banish this card from the field, and if you do, special summon a link 3 or lower Cyberse monster from your extra deck, except Decode Talker Heat Soul. Your life points can get pretty low, but at this version of the build, we're not playing that. So onto the cards that we've added. Splash Mage. So the Splash Mage Transcode Talker access code engine is actually really good in this deck. It just slots in perfectly. Splash Mage is a link 2 Cyberse monsters. You can target 1 Cyberse monster in your grave, special summon it in defense position, but you cannot activate its effects. That's fine. Also, it locks you into Cyberse. You do that, then you want to go into Transcode Talker. Link 3 to effect monsters. While this card is co-linked, it and its co-linked monsters gain 500 attack, and it cannot be targeted. However, it's not usually where you're going to end on, because you can target a link 3 or lower Cyberse monster in your grave, special summon it to a zone this card points to, and then it also locks you. And the whole point is to go into the Big Daddy, the only ultra rare that you have to craft in this deck, in this version of the deck anyway, Access Code Talker. It's a link 4 with 2 effect monsters. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this card's effects activations. If this card is link summoned, you can target 1 link monster that was used as material for its link summon. It gains attack equal to that monster's link rating times 1,000. So usually 3,000 if you're sending the Transcode Talker. You can banish a link monster from your field or grave and to destroy a card that your opponent controls. Also, you cannot banish monsters with that same attribute to activate the effect. And this card is, your opponent can't do anything about it. It's just free destruction. Very, very powerful. So we're going to hop into the ladder here. I'll show this off, and then we'll get back with the deck. All right, so we're here with the matches. So we are doing this on the casual ladder because I only play on the ranked ladder for my Ladder Legend series, which, by the way, you should check out if you haven't seen it yet. So in this match, we end up going first, and we draw a pretty good hand, but when we don't know what our opponent's playing, we try and be conservative. So we go Signet Mining to add a Foxy because we have the Gazelle. We'll go Foxy. We reveal a Lady Debug, a Gazelle, and then a Signet Mining. Nothing fantastic because we already have the Gazelle. And we drew the Sanctuary off the top, so we're not exactly in the best position. So we'll go Gazelle, effective Gazelle to send Roar, so at least we have an Omni on board. We'll go Sanctuary from hand, link those 2 away into a Sunlight Wolf. We'll go Sunlight Wolf effect, or Sanctuary effect to go Sunlight Wolf into Sunlight Wolf. And then we'll go Sunlight Wolf to add a Roar back to hand, and then we will pass with a Balinx in the grave for protection, a Sunlight Wolf, and then an Omni. Nothing too powerful. So he goes Gunk and Sue Ship. We're just going to roar that right out the gate because he's already used his normal summon, and I figure there's not much that this deck can do if it doesn't have a monster on board. If he had the unexpected die, he would have already used it. So it passes back to us. We've got the Circle. We're going to go Circle. And then in response, he goes Max C, so he's not even going to get the draw. Now, as you'll see, this deck can play a little bit around it, but this definitely hurts our turn. So we'll add the Foxy. We're going to add back the Roar, so we get the Omni back. Then we'll go Foxy, Sunlight Wolf. Because a monster was summoned to a zone that Sunlight Wolf points to, we get to add back to hand. We'll just add the Gazelle. Foxy reveal 3 reveals Foxy, Lady Debug, Will. For sure adding Will. At this point, I stopped to think about whether or not I'm actually capable of killing him, but I realize that I'm just off, and so we will simply swing for 28 and then pass with an Omni on board. At this point, I don't believe that he can really do too much. So he'll go for a Regulator, he'll tribute as cost, we will negate that. His normal summon is gone again, he's got 3 cards in hand, this guy cannot do anything. He'll set 1, pass back to us. So now he's got 2 back row, but they who knows what they do. So we're going to go Spinny, targeting Sunlight Wolf. That triggers Gazelle. We'll go Gazelle effect, sending Jack Jaguar. We'll go Will, Sunlight Wolf, add back Roar. Lady Debug. We'll go Lady Debug effect, add Foxy, just in case, Spinny, special Spinny back. We're going to link into a transcode talker. And at this, my opponent realizes that he cannot win, and he will scoop. So that's it for game 1. A pretty effective display of what this deck can do. Let's move on to game 2. So for game 2, we have a much faster game, but this is something that shows off how oppressive the deck can be against other lower power decks. So we open Spinny, Debug, Will, Degrade Buster, Rage, and we're going first. So we'll go Lady Debug. Debug here to add Gazelle. You really want to add Gazelle if you can. We're going to go Balinx. Balinx to add Sanctuary. We'll go Sanctuary. Now we'll go Spinny. You don't want to go Balinx into Balinx for Gazelle if you don't have to, because then you don't get the add back off of Sunlight Wolf. It's in desperate situations you can, but it's really not what you want to do. So we'll go Sanctuary to go Sunlight Wolf into Sunlight Wolf. Then we'll go Will. We'll go Will on Gazelle. That's a misplay. You really wanted to do Spinny here, but that's okay. We'll add back the Spinny. Then we'll add the Roar. So now we have Roar, Rage, and so we have a Negate, an Omni, and we have a Pop 2. He will go Convert Contract. I'm like, Neospatians, what is this guy's deck? So we'll go Roar to negate. I'm like, there's no way he's got 2. Oh. Well. So he sends 2, draws 2. Then the dude goes into Contact Gate. Special summons 2. At this point, we're like, oh, he's got 2 on board. That's fine. We're just going to pop 2. There's nothing this deck can do. Oh, wait. He's got the Neos fusion. So he goes into Rainbow Neos, sends it to shuffle back, and then swings for 45. At this point, I'm like, I am getting absolutely donged by heroes of all things. Who would have thought? So we draw the Flame Buffalo. We decide to banish 2 to go into Degrade Buster. Degrade Buster banishes Rainbow Neos. We'll go Will of the Salamangreat to add back Sunlight Wolf. We'll go Spinny here to buff the Sunlight Wolf, Spinny affecting Grave. Bring it on back. We'll go Flame Buffalo. We'll move into a Splash Mage. And at this point, our opponent scoops. I don't know if he read that that effect was not permanent, the effect of Degrade Buster to banish, but he elects to scoop here. So we would not have had game. We would have had very close to game, though. So that's all right. That's what happens. If your opponent scoops, that's still a victory. Do not let your opponent... Here's a lesson to everyone. Do not let your victory be diminished by the fact that your opponent chose to scoop. They did not rob you of your victory. You still won. All right, let's get back with the deck. We're here back with the deck. As I said, very cheap, very consistent, very powerful. There are obviously ways that you can improve the deck. Things like Twin Twisters and Cosmic Cyclones are available at super rare, very cheap, and easy to get your hand on, improve the deck considerably. There are other extra deck additions that you can make, like an Apollosa for going first. But in terms of what is, I think, the best deck to build when going into this game for the first time, man, it's hard to beat Burning Spirits. Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you enjoyed this. Hope you had a good day. Good dueling.